So Melody, what are we doing today?
So today we're going to be making a quilting collage for the students in school.
Very, very cool. And what materials are we going to be using?
So we're going to be needing a chipboard, some fabric, Mod Podge, a brush, some newspaper, some images and ephemera to get us started today.
That's awesome. So what can we learn from quilt making? What does that have to do with African American history?
So we can learn about storytelling, about the Black experience, Black life, and important historical figures in America. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your chipboard and your Mod Podge, and you're going to grab a thin layer of Mod Podge and you're going to spread it lightly as the base. Okay, so now we have our first layer and we're gonna just let it dry for a bit and then we will put on the fabric on top. You're gonna make sure that it's placed down so we don't have any wrinkles. Okay, now that we have our fabric on top, we can grab more Mod Podge and put a small layer of where you want your ephemera or images to go. So I decided to focus on learning about Martin Luther King Jr. and Frederick Douglass. So those are the images that I have collected. I have one that says Poor People's Campaign for the Power. And then I have images of Frederick Douglass, a variety of options, and just the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. So the first one I'm going to use is just this big image of Frederick Douglass. And I'm going to put it just on the corner. And now I'm going to grab Frederick's narrative. And I'm going to put just a small layer of Mod Podge. And then I'm going to keep adding these on as I go, but this is an index card where I wrote all the information that I was able to gather about Martin Luther King Jr. and who he was, what he was known for, what he was able to accomplish in his life, and then one about Frederick Douglass and how he wanted to promote abolition in America. So I would recommend for you to do this before you actually begin your quilting collage.
So Melody, are you drawing on any inspo for your patterns and layout here?
Yeah, so we're gonna gather later on some scrapbook paper to create the pattern of a North Star that many African Americans would follow as motivation to keep moving forward and heading to like the railroad that will lead them to a place that allows them to be free, have a job, and prosper. Yes, so I purchased this through a website called Amazon.
Oh!
You can also find a bunch of images online or different archival websites. I know that many universities offer ways to have access to that, to get first-hand photographs, just images of Black life during like the 1960s, 1970s. I know Stanford University has a really good archival website that you can look into. But yeah, mine came from this vintage African history images and ephemera. Okay, so now that I have most of it done, I'm just gonna go lightly with one layer of Mod Podge on top of it so that it dries, and in the meantime, I will be cutting up pieces of scrapbook to form the North Star for the pattern. Okay, so I now have all the pieces for the North Star. So you basically just need to cut a square and then the star in the middle and then just a bunch of triangles that will go all around it. So now I'm going to grab the Mod Podge. Because it's still a little wet over here, I can just place it on top. So I'm gonna add the first square and now I'm gonna add a layer of Mod Podge for the star so that I can apply it. That's a little too much. Now I'm gonna put it in the middle. Yeah, and then just a bunch of these all around the square. It won't be inside, just outside of it.
So Melodies, what are some ways that teachers can incorporate this activity into their classes?
Yes, so you can apply this to your social studies lessons. Depending on what unit you're in, whether that's learning about the Civil Rights Movement, the Roaring '20s, the Industrial Revolution. You can learn about important figures, what Black life was during the time, like the music, what kind of activities they did in an urban setting. And then you do research, you do a regular lesson, and then have your students do additional research on their own about people, individuals' life, and then they will write it on an index card to paste it inside the quilting collage. And then eventually you will grab the entire quilt, and as a class you can attach them together to have this long, big quilt, and then you can paste it, put it on in front of your classroom. So yeah, now I just grabbed a piece of scrapbook paper and I refrayed them because that is what both Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King were hoping to achieve for Black Americans in the United States.